I have everything fully done. It's sealed and there's no more holes.
Oh shit, I haven't seen this. You do your thing, but I'm thinking like do. Hey guys, we're over here at Morgan's shop, and this is little Jesse James' first time seeing the truck. So it'll be done when he's about 12.
Perfect.
Yeah. Maybe 16 you'll be able to drive it.
Take it to school.
So we're gonna do an update on the truck, guys. A lot's happened, and Morgan's gonna take us through it right now. Let's jump into it.
It's been a minute since James came and looked at this thing and we did an update. There's been a lot of stuff done, and I'm at a point now where we need to get an update before I fully weld this thing out and finalize it to the point where it can go get wired and plumbed. So one of the big hurdles was there was some hot spots, if you will, where the sheet metal inside the cab, especially in the middle sections, where the seat kind of needed to fit into the trans tunnel area, and the seat sat low, so it needed to have these little hot spots done. So I have everything fully done, where it's sealed and there's no more holes. Most of the harness mounts are welded. All the seat tabs are welded. These areas were just tricky because the exhaust ran through. The seat sat down lower than the profile of this tube, so it actually sat lower. And then you have this plane here where that alpha seat, the PRP alpha seat, like went in here, and it just kind of needed to have its own little corner in there. So I couldn't just freestyle and flat panel it. I had to really go back and forth. That's the seat there. Get those in for the passenger and the driver, and just make sure that everything fits without going so deep where I sacrifice the exhaust that runs through here and the transmission that's living in there too. So I wanted to let James see it for the first time because it's over and it's done, and the cab is sealed. You'll probably hear on some of the episodes before, but I've been like, I just got to seal we had everything done for a long time.
Yeah.
That wasn't that. It was just always these little like 4 areas. Now we just need to fill in the filler panels. When you see us next, we'll have this closed off.
I don't know how you're able to manipulate metal the way you do with that. It's
It's
crazy.
just like building Legos and stuff.
Dude, I've been terrible at Legos, so.
We talked about doing dead pedals in this thing, so these are removable dead pedals. There's the passenger, and then there's the driver. That adds a huge element of stability and you know, driving dynamic, where you can actually brace your left foot while you're operating the gas or operating the brake, or just in the air or expecting some kind of impact. You can really kind of save yourself, and not just have the impact be prioritized into your butt and into the seat. You know, you can kind of brace for impact. As far as the sheet metal goes, I did these ribs. Any kind of area where there's going to be foot traffic, I tried to get surface changes on the sheet metal so we can put grip tape on there, and then it adds like an extra element of grip. This is for the suppression system for a Safecraft bottle. All the eyelets are welded, finalized before the sheet metal goes on. So everything's really close. And what was important before I started going on the next step was that we covered this being complete, because Sean and I are going to weld this for probably 2 days. There's probably 25 hours of welding in the truck. Not just in the interior, but there's stuff in the rear chassis. That and some tin work is probably the last fabrication. And then this thing will go out. I spoke with James about not powder coating it. I want to get it wired and plumbed first. And there is a little extra legwork there where we'll have to make it a roller, go get it wired and plumbed, and then disassemble. But what that does is that makes it so I don't know if I'm going to nail this first try, and I don't feel that it's worth it to powder coat this whole thing, you know, put a nice shell of paint on here and powder where, you know, if we miss cutting a hole somewhere or we miss putting a tab somewhere for something, the other option would be to powder coat it, and then we figure out we left stuff out and we have to nutsert to you know, the chassis, or we have to sand the powder off and, you know, repaint. So I think that's the right step.
It's a safer step, and it's going to take a little more work, but I think it makes sense.
It's just taking a wire harness out and taking all the plumbing out, putting it back in. But at least then anything that's left undone, we button up before. It's just, once you do powder, it's not like paint, where it's not just a touch up. It's not like steel it or something. It's actual like a thick layer, where when you sand it off, you're gonna see the surface changes where you sand it, and you just spent money and you just got your whole car coated. So you just want to have it right the first time.
Right.
And I want to make sure that we do that and don't have to, you know, take steps back. So I think that's the right idea with that thing. I'm gonna put a seat in to show you the tolerances so we can see like why this shape is the way it is and how things go in it. And then we'll cover some of the exhaust and the other stuff that I've done since you've been gone. Again, this is a PRP Alpha containment seat. You can see the brackets here, and that's what I was explaining is this is tight. Like that's almost a finger's width there. Same with underneath, kind of has a shelf under there. It has its place. I just didn't want to start diving into the trans tunnel too much, and we needed to spare the exhaust room, so it's tight, but everything has its place. Everything's packaged just for occupant space. The trans is serviceable when it comes out, but you know, it's tight. It's a tiny little cap. If you want to sit in there and feel it out, I mean, now your floors are on all the way.
No worries. This is the first time without a like 2x4s. Just kidding. Dude, that's crazy. Yeah.
A dead pedal too.
Yeah. That's wild.
We are waiting on display, so we're gonna have one pod for you that's just gonna be one display here. So one pod display, no big dash. You talked about using a tablet, so maybe just some kind of like clamp on mount, real simple.
Yeah, we're probably just gonna get an iPad for Onyx.
For Onyx, there you go.
All I need.
Yep.
Just the Onyx app will help us get through all this stuff.
And then the only thing that we need to add, you know, is like another aluminum piece is we just need to have something for switches, like a Switch Pro, and then a battery cutoff.
Where are you thinking of putting that?
Right there.
Just right here?
Yeah, I think we'll either have one like 12 button pad.
Okay.
You know, and a cutoff, and maybe a pull for the suppression system, and radio. Well, the radio will probably have to go here. Okay. So I think we just need to finalize the electronics so I can just package them.
There's so many ideas. Like I feel like I'm in a spaceship in this thing, so it's like I almost want it to feel like a spaceship. Like I almost want like you do your thing, but I'm thinking like do. You know what I mean?
I think you have to treat it like a World War II aircraft, your battle plane. Yeah, but I think
I feel bad for already.
I think simple is the recipe with this thing. You don't need to have a whole dash. You just have your pod for
I want it super simple.
Yep.
Absolutely, dude.
And that's the same with that. Just minimal stuff. Minimal.
I even want this all visible.
The exposed controls.
Yeah.
All the brakes.
I think it's cool.
Yep.
I think that would be really cool to keep it that way.
Also, next update, this will all be welded. So this is already done. So the whole entire chassis will be seam welded like that. All the sheet metal on the inside will have like a nice gold striping on it.
Jesse got bored.
Yeah.
Boring.
See ya.
Boring.
Anything else back here, Morgan?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I haven't seen this.
The batteries and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 Odyssey battery mounts, a little mini substructure. I don't like to weld these into the cars just in case something fails or you change your battery program, so they're just bolt on.
Okay.
3 bolt captures. 1, 2, 3 instead of 4. You don't really need that corner.
And you know what? I like how the battery is still back here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
it's not up here. We're still keeping every bit of weight in the back.
Yep.
Again, if I would have financially had the money for a big fat cell, I would have got a huge, 60 gallon, 80 gallon cell back here. But I wanted to keep it tighter. And I feel like this is going to be fine for what I'm going to be doing with it,
You also have 2 40s in the back. So
2 big ass 40s.
Yeah, don't forget those.
Those 40s will definitely help out. So.
Or they might be 2 really big 39s.
Oh yeah. So wait, what did we end up?
Toyos.
Yeah, but which
39, 13, 50, 17s. Yeah.
So guys, yeah, that's pretty cool. Toyos, 39s.
And
big
methods.
Big old bad boys with some methods coming soon. That's going to be awesome. That's going to be an episode in itself, but I think when we see this thing with those shoes on it, and that package, it's going to look cool.
The fuel pump and filter is in its own little tray in here. So let me circle around.
Yeah, I haven't seen this, so this.
So-
this guy.
So we kept going on the exhaust. I'm kind of just finding my way under here.
These lines.
We kept going on the exhaust here, and the exhaust comes up and it goes onto the fuel cell, and this thing comes out of the 2 mufflers here, and then it goes together and does an X. And right where all that X is, this 1/8 inch aluminum tray is here to protect the fuel pumps and the fuel filters and their lines. So it's a firewall, if you will. It's a partition. I'm a firm believer in having your mufflers and then an X pipe and then your exit. So this, instead of just dumping after the cab, we're gonna put some more sound into it and have it a little quieter. It's gonna go up here, it's gonna X, it's gonna have that partition there, and it's gonna shoot out And then we're going to get to that in a second here. I just got an old man out of the truck really quick. Make noises and things. This tray that I'm talking about, 1/8" aluminum, it's contoured to the chassis, another thing Tony did. But what you can see here is there's a fuel pump and a fuel filter in line, and there's provisions for 2. We just had 1 for mock-up, so it's all laid out to have 2 in line. So fuel lines can go there. They're protected from the exhaust. All the heat and anything that could happen with fluids and stuff kind of has a partition. So even if say you have a leak or something happens with your transmission lines, maybe it drips and doesn't just go directly onto the exhaust, which is your number one problem, you know, stuff on your headers and exhaust.
Right.
That exhaust is not on here, so you can't quite see what we got going on, but it comes out. This is your holder for the exhaust. The bedside's about right here, and the exhaust just does a really nice turn and notches out. So this is the X. It's a big X pipe. Front of the truck is here, and this is where your fuel cell would be, and then there's where the pan is for the partition for the filters and the pumps, and then it turns. So this is the exit, and these come out through the bedside in a really nice, favorable way. So this comes out like this, and it looks crazy right here. But when you have the bedside on, it makes a lot of sense. And this fits all, it clears the shocks and it stays away from the shocks, and then it also clears the tire at full bump.
So drive shaft, what's going on with that?
I think your drive shaft's dialed. What I did notice is when this thing's fully bumped, it has a crazy pinion angle. So the face of this, and where the U-joint is right here to the drive shaft, where that connects, the pinion angle's like kicked up crazy. So I think we can take a lot of the threads out of this and
set it up
suck
right.
the pinion angle up a little bit. Yeah, and I'm hoping we can.
Okay.
I don't know if it ever got cycled up and down, like to the point where people should get a drive shaft for it, but it's fine. I think that it's a nice drive shaft. It's set up right, so if it's just a matter of adjusting these and we get the right pinion angle, then we're good. I just know it's a thing of concern.
So for our viewers out there, what happens when you have too much of an angle?
You just blow U-joints, so that thing that's on the end of the drive shaft, that guy down there has a U-joint. If you have the wrong pinion angle, you'll have like a gnarly vibration.
And that sucks.
Yeah, and then you'll end up blowing your U-joints like prematurely. On my Beth outside, I set up the leaf spring perches on it not the right way, and so you know I could probably get 3 weeks of driving that thing every day on the highway, and then I blow a U-joint. So it's a prime example of not doing it right.
So you're hoping once you maybe adjust those threads, that'll fix the problem. And what if that doesn't?
I'm gonna shorten the upper links because it's just a matter of getting the pinion angle down.
Got it.
At full compression.
Okay.
But I think it's salvageable. So it's just, that's one of those things that needs to happen before we send it off. So this thing's really close right now to getting sent to wiring and plumbing, and like I talked about, I want to do it raw.
Yeah.
When it does go out, we'll get it back as a running truck, but we're just gonna literally maybe drive it down the street and back, and then we're gonna park it and take it all apart and make everything nice and final assemble everything. Put the right hardware in, shank all the bolts. We'll talk about all that when we do it.
Right.
We'll go through the whole process, put proper hardware everywhere it needs to go, and just get it fully fine-tuned and gone through. And then we're gonna unveil it in the desert, and James is gonna rent Barstow, Maine, and do all the shit. Roy Tompkins, I am hoping he goes through this thing for us, and I think he is. I talk to him every so often, and he's like a shock whisperer. That he's one of those guys that it might not be a mathematical thing for him, it's something more of a feel, and I think that correlates with this truck perfectly. So next step is Sean and I will weld everything. So if you start looking, like most of this stuff is not welded, like miscellaneous structures and some of the fender mounts, like some of this stuff is not welded, the eyelets, and then obviously the sheet metal inside. So
yeah,
it'll probably be, I think for the whole truck, it's going to be 25 hours worth of welding. Then we need to talk about lights, because that's one thing that still needs to be fabricated and mounted to the truck.
Yeah.
And aluminum work. So
Okay.
James and I did kind of discuss different things for aluminum. I think just right now, we should just do meat and potatoes, side skins on the rear chassis and front chassis panels, like enclosure panels on the motor. I talked about doing like a huge panel up top, and if we want to go down that route, you and I can have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
But there will be time into that, but I think it would be nice to have like a big panel that covers everything, and it would really make it look like an RC car body like that.
You know what that reminds me of? There's an old truck. Scott Steinberg had it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
JetBlue.
JetBlue.
Built by Nestor Berardi.
So that truck in the back has that kind of look.
Yeah, it's all fiberglass, and it's radius like this. It's got like a lip. Looks very like stereo box style.
Again, that's like one of like a huge inspirational truck to like
Yeah.
so many people.
And we're actually going to cover the sister truck to that truck that a buddy of mine owns in Las Vegas.
Future BTD.
Yep. Anyways, one of the big things will be we'll weld everything. All the intake, all the exhaust, all the rear chassis, and then all of the sheet metal on the interior. That'll be a huge step.
Okay.
I told James that he needs to have his door panels in order. I don't think we should do custom ones that just need to put stock things back on.
Yeah.
There's 2 that are in good condition that are for the rear doors, so we just need front door ones that are gray.
Okay.
I'm gonna let you do some of the legwork with finding those.
Oh, no.
Everything's gonna fit nice if we just have a stock door panel.
Okay.
We want to cover lights. We're gonna run a big Baja Designs package on this thing. So one of the big things I wanted to do.
Pretty stoked about that.
Yeah.
After this, we're going to talk about the Baja Design setup. Thank you guys so much for working with us to get this done. Baja Designs, those have always been my light of choice since I was a kid. Dude.
I think they're the best.
Since I was a kid, you know, watching the Honda 650s like win the 1000s with them, you know, and running those lights and just destroying with those lights was just a huge inspiration to me. Being a part of that is really cool. So hopefully you guys will check that out soon. I think that's it, Morgan.
Yeah, we're gonna cover some of the Baja Design stuff and the light package separately. There's been so much progress here that this will probably get split up a little bit. Hope you're enjoying everything. Everything's close. We're gonna send this thing off for wiring and plumbing real soon. So I mean, it might be a month and it's out. It also pertains to the motor being built right now and the trans. But once those come back, then this thing's out. We're ready to go.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you guys supporting us and the channel and everything. If you guys know somebody that's way in over their head with a build, you guys can show them how I'm way in over my head with the build.
Yeah, but you got light at the end of the tunnel.
There is light at the end of the tunnel. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Comment. If you guys have questions for Morgan, please comment
Slide
below.
in.
Yeah, slide in, man.
Slide in.
He'll help you out. He'll answer those questions. Bye, guys. Thank you so much. Later.
Thank you.